INAudio presents The Power of the Supreme Court by Matt Beat. Read for you by Philip Church. Why I wrote this stuff. We find things that don't mean anything to us boring. If we can't connect with something or see how it's relevant to our daily lives, how can we possibly be interested in it? As an educator, I have spent much of my time trying to convince people that boring stuff that seems irrelevant to them is entirely relevant. Some things have been easier to make relevant than others. It's always easy for me to make anything to do with money relevant. Almost everyone constantly thinks about money, and most worry about it. Therefore, when I teach about the Great Depression, I can often draw them in with a story of a real 60-year-old man who had spent his entire life working and saving money only to lose all of it when his bank failed. He described how later, after years of not being able to find work, he could only find shelter in a shanty town and had to wait in line for bread to not starve to death. We can connect to that stuff. Other things are not so easy to make relevant. The Compromise of 1790, the first of three incredibly important compromises made between Northern and Southern politicians to keep the United States together, isn't interesting to learn about. Sure, it's a pivotal event in the country's early history, but it's kind of a boring story. It only means something to most of us when connected with the cultural divides of today. Enter the Supreme Court of the United States. It's currently made up of 9 people who arguably have more power than any politician or plutocrat in the United States. They are at the top of the American federal government's judicial branch, which interprets laws. Interprets? Well, humans can interpret things however they want, can't they? This alone is a tremendous power, and just 5 interpretations from the court can be carved in stone as a precedent that can be used for decades, if not centuries. The court has complete discretion over which cases it decides to hear. Of the 7,000 to 10,000 requests for cases it gets each year, it often only takes between 80 and 85. It has the power to overthrow decisions of all courts underneath it. The Supreme Court's power has grown tremendously since the early 1800s. Beginning with the case Marbury v. Madison, which institutionalized the idea of judicial review, the court slowly became a powerful force to hold the other 2 branches of government, legislative and executive, accountable. Judicial review is the process by which the judicial branch can determine whether the executive and legislative branch's actions are constitutional. This means, if the president issues an executive order the court thinks is unconstitutional, they can strike it down. If Congress
Sample complete. Ready to continue?